Welcome everybody to Special Counsel, the Final Five debate. Meby is joining me as a co-host. Meby, how's it going?
Hi, hello everyone. It's going great. I'm super excited for this. Can't wait for it to start.
Before we jump in, let me set the stage. Last week, we had a massive election with 17 nominees, and only the top 5 vote getters would move on. There were Captain Trippy, Thread Guy, Karma Pocket, Swickie, and Waabam. Now we're in the second and final round of the election, and there's about 1.6 million votes that are up for grabs. Those are the votes that went to the other candidates that are not in the top 5. This election is a pivotal one because those 1.6 million votes are going to decide what's going to happen. There's 2 seats up for grabs, and right now, Apecoin valuation is at a historic low, and a lot of people are now asking the harder questions. Many are wondering what's next and how is the special counsel going to help steer the ship. The 2 special counsel members chosen when voting closes on Wednesday, June 28th at 9 p.m. will set the tone for where Apecoin DAO is going for the rest of the year.
Now it's time to welcome the nominees. Thank you guys for being here. Without further ado, we ask you guys to prepare like a short welcoming statement.
I'm Waabam. I'm obviously running for special counsel. I am I was one of the stewards of Working Group Zero. I've worked in the DAO for quite a while. I have a strong vision for the DAO that's really focused on creating use cases for Apecoin. I believe that Ape has the potential to be the coin of metaverse culture and blockchain gaming.
Let's go to Swickie next.
Hello, I'm Swickie, obviously running for special counsel. I have a lot of nonprofit documentary fund experience where we read proposals, made sure that they adhered to 501c3 regulation, guided them through the process. I was also on finance at the Discovery Channel. I have a journalism background, so a lot of the way that I interact with people and the reason why I love community so much probably stems from that. The one thing that I would say is that I have both the in real life experience as well as the experience in Web3 to really have a pulse on the community. The entire purpose of this foundation is to administer grants, and I have experience in that. I think that the grants could change the course of Web3, of the Apecoin DAO itself. And I just hope everybody looks at everybody's qualifications in terms of what they bring to the table and make their choices based on that.
Great. And we're going to go to
Awesome.
Captain next.
Hey, Captain Trippy here, running for special counsel. Thank you for hosting us. I've been a long-time active member of the overall ecosystem, both in the Bored Ape Yacht Club and the overall ecosystem at large. I believe very strongly in what the DAO allows us to do in Web3. We have a platform that has been laid, a foundation that has been laid for us to really drive things forward. The low-hanging fruit is certainly, if you look at the IP maps, ecosystem maps, there's a lot of projects, a lot of businesses that are working in Web3, either with Yuga IP or other project IP. And I think it's extremely important to figure out how we can communicate and collaborate with those folks first, and to be able to incorporate Apecoin if it makes sense with them, and just find mutually beneficial ways to do that.
And last but not least, we have Thread Guy.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Thread Guy. Obviously, I'm running for the special counsel here, and I believe that ultimately the Apecoin DAO has lost touch with the culture. I believe the DAO has almost non-existent social presence. I believe the community is unengaged and stagnated. And ultimately, I think there's a severe lack of exciting activations and an ability to capture attention that ultimately leads to the Apecoin DAO almost never being part of the daily discussion in Web3, where narratives are set and ultimately opinions are formed. I believe that I'm the bridge to the talent and the builders the DAO needs to onboard at the top of the funnel to ultimately increase participation in AIPs that move the needle at the bottom of the funnel. In my opinion, the special counsel is a 5-member team, and the only way to optimize the special counsel team for success in an opaque role that demands flexibility and versatility is really to maximize strengths and minimize weaknesses.
Great. Those are the opening statements. Thank you so much, everybody. Just like last election cycle, the topic of special counsel salary came up this time once again. I wanted to get each of your takes on all the discussion around that. Instead of asking you guys if you think the salary is fair, I wanted to ask, have you seen any comments or criticism that you think is a good reflection of the current state?
Ultimately, I believe the merit of the counsel position fully justifies the salary that it currently demands. Outside of specific deliverables and public responsibilities, there's obviously a slew of legal risk and compliance efforts that being a member on the special counsel, you have to inherit and take on. And in my opinion, in order to attract the talent, the minds, and really the insight that a member of this special council ultimately needs to put the DAO in the best position for success, it demands a salary and a position of this stature and at this level.
Cap, same question for you.
Currently, we need clarification around what all the special counsel, maybe some of the behind the scenes work that they're doing. But the mandate of the council is to protect the DAO and to fulfill the mandate of the community. And so that's the first tenet. And then on top of that, we all have our platforms and our missions that we want to bring to the table. As far as the pay goes, I think it's the right amount. You can argue more, you can argue less. I think it's a good balance of the talent that you would like to attract to the DAO in such a strong leadership position. I think it's the correct pay. The community will certainly get their input on that. But if you want to attract the right talent, the top talent to be able to fulfill these positions, then I do think that there needs to be a certain level of pay for the risk and responsibility that's there.
Swickie, same question.
I think it's a fair pay for the position. As Captain said, there is risk involved. There isn't someone with an idea to slash the pay. I think it's up to the DAO whether they want to do that, because of course this was built for people like Alexis and Yat, right? So it's up to us to continue the foundational work that they've done. But, take into consideration the candidates who are up. There are 2 candidates who said that they would not be willing to do the job if the pay was slashed. Everybody has bills to pay, but I can tell you that I'm not one of them.
And Waabam, we're going to go to you. And I'm just going to restate the question once more. It's not necessarily, do you think that the salary is fair? It's that, have you seen any comments or criticism around the salary discussion that you think merit consideration?
For sure I have. I've been in the DAO for a long time, and these aren't new concerns. I had those concerns myself. I've learned more about the role through working with the DAO and through working with special counsel, and I understand it better now. And I do think the pay is relatively appropriate, but it's like Trippy said. We have an issue in the DAO where the community doesn't necessarily understand everything that special counsel is doing, or even understand. It's not very clear to a lot of people in the community what special counsel is doing a lot of the time. And so how is the community supposed to judge what appropriate pay is if they don't totally understand, what the job entails?
Let's move on to the next part. So are you guys familiar with the rocks, pebbles, and sand story? And if you're not, it's a prioritization framework. Essentially, if you have a jar that you need to fill with rocks, pebbles, and sands, the best way to make it all fit is to start by putting in the big rocks, and then the pebbles, and then lastly, the sand. And so the question is, and we'll start with you, Waabam, this time. When it comes to your special counsel term, what will be your rocks, your pebbles, and sand?
What I would like to see the DAO really focus on is use cases for Apecoin. And to be clear, as special counsel, I can't just wave a magic wand and do this myself. This requires the effort of the whole DAO. My rocks would be, coordinating with the working groups, coordinating with other parts of the DAO to make sure that, that we have growth and onboarding happening. Hopefully the marketing and communications working group gets to get off the ground and hire a growth and marketing team, a treasury working group that can look at sustainability of the treasury. And then for me, my pebbles would be, I want to see special council members propose their own improvements to the DAO.
Cap, we're going to go to you next.
This is where business experience comes in. I run my organization and have for a long time to be able to have a yearly goal and then break it down to quarterly rocks to achieve those goals. And so the rocks really are the key things that you're focusing on, kind of your North Stars. For me, currently, and I certainly want to see behind the scenes to solidify these, but it's to continue to push for more Apecoin usage across the overall ecosystem. I want to see more cross-community collaboration, open dialogue, outreach to other communities. As far as the pebbles and sand, I think a lot of those will come out of the rocks. And so as you establish your rocks, a lot of times those pebbles and sand tasks and things start becoming more and more aware. And so for me right now, it's very much being focused on the big picture, the vision of the DAO, pushing those rocks forward, increasing Apecoin usage, and getting our message out.
Red Guy, same question to you.
In order to optimize this DAO for success, we need to expand the bottom of the funnel, which I believe is past AIPs that genuinely move the needle and push the vision of the DAO forward. And the only way to do that is to expand the top of the funnel, which is the brand presence, is the social platform. It's the ability to connect with the builders and the talent that the DAO needs to onboard in order to fund proposals and leverage ideas to ultimately push this DAO, the vision, and the entire space forward. Right now, as it currently stands, there's a major disconnect in my opinion, on outreach and awareness within the DAO. Quite frankly, the community can't be onboarded or participated in what we're doing if they don't know that it's happening. I believe that I act as quite literally the bridge to the exact culture and the exact community builders and talent that is essential for the Apecoin DAO to onboard, to then fund and leverage their ideas to ultimately push forward and expand awareness and the growth within the Apecoin DAO.
And last but not least, Swickie, same question to you.
For me, I think I have a little bit of a different perspective. I think my rocks are the foundational element of the position. And the position is to make sure that you are making the best judgments and decisions for the community as far as regulatory and compliance, and also to serve the vision of the DAO. The pebbles for me are the things that have been discussed, which are working groups. But I do believe that the working groups are the pebbles, but there are a lot of different colored pebbles, right? We have communications, we have marketing, we have the Metaverse working group. It is super important, I agree, to have real use case beyond the meta even, because we should be kind of like working in conjunction and moving in parallel to figure out how to bring use case in real life. And then for me, the sand would be to sprinkle in, hopefully, as we get all these pebbles in place and people do onboard, to sprinkle in all of the, as Bored Ape G says, the sparkle, right? To grow in a way that is beyond Web3, to grow in a way that is beyond just the DAO, so that we can make an impact out there.
Now it's the open response period again. So if you heard something that you agree or disagree with, if you want to comment if whatever one of your other, not the other nominees said, this is the time.
I'm just actually curious, genuinely, from Thread Guy, how your platform would fit in, as you said, to these pebbles. How do you think that your crowd or the people that you have come in would genuinely have longevity in the DAO? Are they interested in putting in AIP, stuff like that?
Thanks for the question, Swickie. And look, ultimately, this is a grand DAO, and it's the Apecoin's DAO responsibility to attract the top talent, the top ideas, and the top innovation, and ultimately fund their ideas to push the DAO and the vision forward. As it currently stands, there's a couple hundred people that are actively engaged in the community discourse forums, and another 90 to 100 that participate in the ApeCom's Twitter spaces. Outside of those two platforms that are essentially non-existent in the grand scheme of Web3 culture, news, and daily experiences, the vision and the idea, the concept of the DAO is stuck within the silo. It doesn't extend anywhere else to any other airwaves or any other chambers within the Web3 space. The only way to bring on new community and to strike innovation is to reach the culture cultivators and the ideas guys that can genuinely make an impact. So in my opinion, it isn't about what one-off person's proposal is or what their proposal is there, but the general idea that the message of the Apecoin DAO has to extend beyond the discourse forums and the 100 people in the Twitter space, or it's quite literally putting a lid on the jar by ourselves to never allow this DAO to grow and continue to be stagnated with the same community that has been here from day one.
I'd like to add something to that. So, I know he mentioned ApeComs and some other channels. ApeComs is not an official channel of the DAO. It's something that certain community members have put forth and started. So I wouldn't measure ApeComs as a failure of the DAO. I would say that the DAO, in my opinion, needs to reach out to space hosts that have large audiences, such as Thread Guy and others, The Damn Show, and to be in front of those audiences consistently, and to lean into the messaging that we already have with the DAO on our website. And I think we've done a very, very poor job of getting those messages out. So one instance of this is 1 Apecoin is all you need to be a participant in the DAO. And if you ask most people, they don't realize this. And to be this far into the DAO and that message not out yet is something that has to be clarified. But I don't think it's one person, one's voice that has to do that. I think it has to be something that's spread across the ecosystem as a whole. And I like ApeComs. I like the people working on ApeComs. They're hard workers, but it's not an official statement or a station of the DAO.
In response to Trippy, I just wanted to say that the comment was not meant to be a shot at ApeComs. I know it's not official communicator of the Apecoin DAO, and I think they do a great job. But ultimately, the point I'm trying to get across is, as it currently stands, that is the method of communication.
Now we're going to move on to some head-to-head questions. And so we're going to ask pair the same question, and each will have a few minutes to respond.
We start with Thread Guy. So a large part of your bid is centered on you having this following, hosting spaces, while Captain Trippy has a similar audience, but his main strength is experience. It's not that he hosts spaces and things like this. So Thread Guy, what would you say to a critic that says that hosting spaces and having an audience isn't enough to do the special counsel job?
The first point I want to get across is not to put too much emphasis on the follower metric, because ultimately it's not about audience, it's about impact. And the impact is where we need to emphasize the importance of how this vision can really be spread, not from followers alone.
So now we go to Cap. So we mentioned that you, Captain Trippy, also have a large following, but you're not as active as Thread Guy in hosting spaces. What do you think about hosting spaces as a special council member? Is that an important thing? And if you're not going to host spaces, how do you think it's the best way to engage the community at large into the Apecoin DAO?
Yeah, so I think hosting spaces, certainly I'm capable of hosting spaces and reaching a wide audience. As far as the overall reach goes, I'd say that my job over the last year hasn't been to host spaces and reach out to other communities. And it's not a shot at Thread Guy. I mean, I have a lot of respect for what he does and for the community outreach that he has. I think he has a tremendous reach. I've been a community member and an active participant, and I can get more reach when and if it's needed. And so as a community council member, hosting spaces will certainly be part of that. So that will be both on the Apecoin Twitter page, and it'll also be going to other leaders within the industry, such as Thread Guy and others, the Damn Show, to get that messaging out and have it consistent.
We're going to get Waabam and Swickie up for the next one. Waabam, Swickie, appears you guys have there's some philosophical differences between you two when it comes to understanding the special counsel responsibilities. And so I'm referring to two separate threads that were put out. Waabam, let's start with yours. And so in your thread, you said, what do you think would happen if Apecoin got a Wells notice from the SEC, or if the IRS taxed the DAO treasury? The role of special counsel is to prevent this from happening. Let me explain the role to you. Once you get it, it'll be very obvious why I'm the best candidate. So, Waabam, what leads you to believe that this could be a potential reality and that your law experience here is the right fit?
Well, I mean, it could be a potential reality because it's happening all around crypto, right? I mean, we see the SEC pursuing various crypto projects. We see Wells notices arriving on crypto projects' desks. They're normally projects who are a couple years older than Apecoin is right now, but it's a very real possibility. Thankfully, we've had a good team in special counsel that have been working very hard to make sure that doesn't happen to Apecoin, but it could happen. And the same thing with the Treasury and the IRS, and that could be catastrophic for the DAO. Why do I think I can help? Look, the Ape Foundation's got great lawyers, right? We've got Fenwick and West. They're the best in the business. So the special counsel doesn't need in-house counsel. But what I can do is I can bring years of experience of working in the legal environment, working in the regulatory environment, and I bring that skill set and that knowledge, that familiarity with law and with regulations, so that when the special counsel members have to make difficult decisions, when legal matters come up and we're as a team debating amongst ourselves, the other members can lean on me.
Okay. And so, Swickie, you had a thread of your own that said, don't let any candidates scare you into thinking the council cannot function without them. The DAO is for everyone. The role of special counsel is to open to people with integrity, good judgment, able to collaborate, and trustworthy. No specific background required. We have all worked alongside legal to mitigate risk. In essence, it sounds like you, disagree with what Waabam is saying. I wanted to just give you an opportunity to expand on this perspective.
I don't disagree with it. What I don't agree with is saying that this DAO cannot operate without a single person. Do all of us have specialties? Absolutely. We have legal counsel on the foundation. We're not going to be telling them what to do. We're going to be collaborating alongside them, right? Last week, for example, when we were on Spaces, there's two legal guys on there, and they essentially pretty much said, well, I would pick each other because we're the most professional. I don't see it that way.
We are going to move to another part of the debate. We're actually at the tail end of this. So now it's the single question period. So each one of you will be asked a question that is tailored for you. So we start with Captain Trippy. Some people say that working in an organization that has a top-down structure like your business is very different than working in a DAO. So how do you defend yourself from these statements?
A top-down structure structure in a business, is certainly different from the DAO. But I do think that, experience, leadership, good judgment, decision-making, all of those things translate over to a DAO. And at the end of the day, we're not running the DAO. So this is not a CEO position. This is it's in a way, it's a board seat. Certainly we have influence, and we all have our platforms of things we want to improve, and certainly can use some influence to do that. But at the end of the day, it's bottom up, and it is the responsibility of the community to propose AIPs for us to then review those AIPs for legal risk and to protect the will of the DAO.
Waabam, we're going to go to you next. Beyond your legal expertise, what other things do you say you bring to the table that makes you a great special counsel member?
Well, I bring great judgment. I have experience making difficult decisions. A lot of what special counsel does is they have to take a proposal that has some benefit to the DAO, but may create some kind of risk for the DAO, whether it's legal or financial or brand or operational. And they have to weigh it. They have to say, is the potential benefit of this proposal worth the potential risk? And those decisions could involve massive amounts of the treasury. The implications could have a huge impact on Apecoin DAO and its future.
So let's move to Swickie. This is your tailored question. We cannot deny that you have a very diverse background, from lobbying in Washington, D.C., academia, branding, evaluating proposals. And there is this saying that says, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. What's the best case for the argument that all of these different experiences sets you up to succeed in this role and to actually achieve outcomes?
Just in the last spaces I was in, I was talking about how my production background, because I worked in pre-production and post, you are constantly exposed to different personalities, different dynamics, different things that need to be done. I've had all sorts of types of jobs, but that's because a lot of times opportunity would present itself and I would take it, because as you know, if you're not growing, then what are you doing, right? As far as what I can bring to the DAO in that sense is, I think all of those things have prepared me for this moment. Actually, the DAO works very much like a lot of the environments that I have worked in before. I feel that all of my specialized things, like working at a grants foundation, working in production, all of these things came together to kind of fit this special counsel position.
Thread guy, there was a comment left in discourse in the special counsel thread, and it had a considerable number of likes. And it said, I think spaces and onboarding is generally extremely important for the DAO to onboard and educate about current AIPs. But I personally do not think that it is the job for special counsel, as I think the best use case or the best use for filling those seats are for community members who can aid in the process of working in infrastructure, making sure AIPs are compliant, and things of that nature. I feel like you wanted to pass an AIP to do a media campaign. That would be a better use of your skill set. How would you respond to that comment?
I think the biggest misconception that I want to make clear right now is that the only value prop I bring is the Twitter space. There's way too much emphasis being put on Twitter spaces in one Twitter space specifically, and a complete oversight of what social impact is and the value that can come from extending a line to reach the community and ultimately allow community members to be heard. The way I look at this special counsel, it's a 5-member team. We aren't stacking 5 individuals with the highest skill set in one specific area. We're trying to optimize to maximize as many strengths as possible and minimize as many weaknesses as possible.
Now we have a question for everyone. We see a lot of enthusiasm when you're going for a position, but we know that the reality is that 3 out of your 5 are not going to make it. But there are many other opportunities in the DAO. So in one sentence, will you commit today to being involved with the DAO even if the voting doesn't go the way you want to?
Well, I've been working in the DAO for ages. I'm not going to disappear if I don't get this role. I do think it's the best, it's the best match for me. It fits my skill set and I can have the most effect and do the most good in the DAO in this role, but I'm not going anywhere.
There's a lot of places for all of us. Every one of us, again, has a lot of things to bring to the table. And for me, I really see probably marketing and comms, like in real life things, real use case adoption related to those things coming into play for me. So I'm not going anywhere. I feel like, I've landed in a place where I see that we can all grow together. And so I'm actually really excited. I think that there's a lot that we can do here together.
Captain, your turn.
Yeah, I think my track record speaks to that. I've been an active participant in the DAO for the very beginning, more so in discourse in the last 6 to 7 months. So I don't plan on going anywhere. I will say this about the 5 candidates that are remaining. Yes, only 2 get selected. If we were the 5 special counsel, I think that it's an incredible team and we could do fantastic things. So at the end of the day, it's just picking, who we think is best for the job. But yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Great. And
Great. Right, guy.
In short, my answer is absolutely. I want to make it very clear that I'm fully aware of all of my options to participate in different avenues within the DAO, but I specifically chose and targeted the special counsel because that's the position that I feel like my skill set can have the most genuine, tangible impact on the DAO. However, I believe that through my campaign, it's been a public case study for what I bring to the DAO in the skill sets that I add to an already flourishing ecosystem. And if it's not on the special counsel, I know for a fact that I can have a real impact and plan to have a real impact on the DAO moving forward.
Unfortunately, we don't have any time for audience questions, but I didn't want to give a couple of minutes to each of you guys as a closing statement before we wrap this down.
First of all, it's been a joy. It's been an incredible experience running for this position. I've been able to meet new community members that I haven't had a chance to meet one-on-one before, get to know people in a more personal manner, strengthen relationships that I've already had, listen to the community. And so it really has given me, even more excitement for the possibility to be able to do this for 12 months for the community and to really dive in deep and to truly make a bigger impact on our overall ecosystem. Obviously, I've been a part of our space for a very long time, and I have been able to assist in different ways, with different teams. But this is an opportunity for me to, what I feel like is for me to have the right person in the right seat that fits for me within the DAO and within special counsel. And so, as an experienced leader of an organization, I feel like I can bring good judgment, level head. I think, a lot of the things that you've seen from me over the last, 2+ years on Twitter is, from a personality standpoint, from an outreach standpoint, you can continue to see from me and even take that to a whole nother level. So, there's certainly been times where I've been able to, that I've reached out to, communities in a much bigger way than, potentially the last, 3, 4, 5 months in the space. But, the ability is there and I'm excited for the opportunity. And I hope that, that you all see that as a community and that, I get the opportunity to make a difference on special counsel.
Same thing for you. Closing statements that you want to leave everybody with in the audience.
I'm approaching the special counsel as optimizing the team. And I said it a couple of times. I'm going to say it again. In order to optimize a team in a role that is opaque, such as the special counsel and covers so many verticals, you need to maximize strengths and minimize weaknesses. And unless you are 100% satisfied with the Apecoin DAO and its production up until this point, then you at some level believe that there's a need for new ideas, new faces, and new perspectives within the DAO. I believe that the only way to increase the reach, to reignite the Apecoin DAO and onboard the builders and the talent ultimately that we can fund and use our leverage and grants to propel the Apecoin DAO forward is to insert a bridge at the first layer that has access to connect and to reach with the people that we are attempting to onboard. And ultimately, I believe that I'm that bridge.
Swickie, you do, of course, get a closing statement as well.
As it stands, we face the challenge of breaking that psychology that we are BAYC-centric. The DAO is for everyone as long as they hold Ape. And so the only way to really sustainably accomplish this is to expand the community. Communication and education are needed. Incentive to build within the Apecoin DAO is needed. And not just with the creators that we have at the moment, but from different communities as well, right? So we need to be ultra inclusive about that. In a year from now, I really hope that all the people who are doers are here in the DAO creating alongside of each other. I hope that we'll have smoother and more effective governance. And if you're looking for a candidate who has both sides of the aisle, I truly believe I am that person.
Guys, we're at the very end of it. Thank you guys so much for everybody coming on and making this work and sticking through any lag issues or anything like that. We appreciate you guys. Hope we weren't too hard on you guys with the questions, but I hope that the community got what they were looking for when it comes to understanding each of you guys and your platforms. Thank you everybody for coming and watching, and thank you Thread Guy, Captain, Waabam, and Swickie. Thank you so much.